Yesterday I was very, very tired. I was basically sunbathing all day and then I came in at about 6:30, watched the news and then just fell asleep and woke up at midnight. Um, yes. And yes, why was I tired? The guy that sent the weird who called me up saying he's seen my ad even though I haven't put an ad out in 2 years, so I don't know where he would see my ad or why he would see my ad. But yeah, he didn't. He sent me this really horrible dick pic, and I've kind of just been thinking about like just how insane would you have to be a 63-year-old who first of all said 55 and then in a text said 63. So to be a 63-year-old who thinks it's okay to send fake images of a hugely large dick that you supposedly have. I don't even think it's him. I don't think it's him. I don't think it's his dick. I don't think it's a real picture. I don't know. I don't care. But I would say you'd have to be pretty mentally ill to do that, to send that kind of picture to someone who's told you, he called me up and said, I want a book. And I said, well, I haven't put, because he's seen my ad. And I was saying, well, I haven't put any ads out, so I don't know where. And then he was insisting that it was up there and he's seen it. And, well, I haven't put it up there, so I don't know how you've seen it. But yeah. And then he was insisting on paying £100 extra to finish himself, but I don't charge extra, and I didn't. He kept saying that he would give me £100 extra, which didn't make any sense. But yeah, I kind of thought it was a joke, and I kind of thought he wasn't going to show up, and he didn't. So I just wanted to say that. But I just think you'd have to be pretty mentally ill to do that, unless, of course, you are someone who's been watching my videos for a very long time, and it's weird though because when he called up to cancel, he said that his car had been broken into. Someone had come and smashed a brick into his car window, and I was just thinking, well, good. I was speaking to the other one that I was talking to 2 nights ago. That one that was a geoscientist or something didn't believe that I was God. Made out he'd watched my videos for 3 years and yet didn't see any reason to believe why I would believe that I was God. But then he didn't seem to know anything about my religion. I don't want to talk about him because I know he was very, very paranoid about the Illuminati killing him or doing horrible things. So he really didn't want me to put any of my any information. I'm aware he's watching my videos, and he didn't want me to say anything about his name or his birthday, and I did both of that. But I still think he's paranoid. But because this other guy said that he'd had his car thrown, had a brick thrown through his window, a part of me was wondering, is this true? And then when I spoke to him, he spoke like this, like very kind of like posh, and he spoke, like he's serious. But at the same time, I've just spoken like that, and I'm not a 63-year-old man. I'm a young person, and I don't know. It sounded very convincing that he might be a 63-year-old man who was posh and stuff, but at the same time, I just did that kind of voice, so I have no idea who. I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of people that are watching my videos just to take the piss out of what I'm saying, and therefore I don't think it was a real person. But I did see two others who I haven't seen in a long time, and I actually really liked. One of them is there's two people in my whole phone list that I put the word fit by. One was in London, blonde, and yeah, he's in London. But the other one was this one, and I did contact him the other day, and I've seen him twice in the last week, and I was actually quite happy about that because it's nice to know that to know that he was keen, and he looks like also someone that I'd love to travel around the world with. Like that's kind of why I like him. He's got a beard now. I'm not really a big fan on beards, but I like how he's I like how well spoken he is. Some people have a very well spoken voice, and it sounds almost like they're born and raised in Hampstead, and I like that. I like that about him. But anyway, and then the other one has a mop dog, a dog that looks like a mop and always shags my leg when I see it. We've gone on a couple of walks, and so it was nice to meet those people. Um, and someone else seen my video and wanted to come, but that just made me think this other person who knows that I'm God, or knows that I believe that I'm God, known it for years and years, and he wanted to come, quite persistent on it. But I seeing those two, and then and I didn't see him, but I kind of realised that I feel so belittled when I see this other person because, he doesn't believe that I'm God, and he always thought that I'd go back to massage. because obviously I'm not God. Obviously there's not a group of people that are doing things about me behind my back. It's really strange though how he said that he's not seen much of my videos for like 2 years, and just one video happened to pop up, one that just says that I'm going back to massage, even though the title said nothing about it. I think it was title the second topic, where I put the title of what the second topic was and ignored the first topic, and yet somehow out of all the videos that came through to his feeds, that was the one. And so he knew that I was started back, and then he contacted me, and I was going to see him. Then I kind of just felt like how belittled I feel by him. If you know that you're God, and you know that thousands of people know, and you're trying to tell someone and they don't believe you, and I've gone to restaurants and had meals with him, and I kind of like the chat. He's very depressive all the time, and I feel very depressive, so I kind of relate to him. But he's never thought anything would happen, and he thought I would go back to massage. And so if I see him, I feel like it would be almost a confirmation that he's right, that there isn't a group of people that know about me and have been doing stuff. And just to put myself in that situation where I'm like around someone who just doesn't believe that I'm God, knows that I believe that I'm God for a very, very long time, and yet has no ability to accept it or believe it, and then to hang around him and have to know that this is who I have to hang around with, because these are the only people that want to hang around with me, or the only people that are contacting me, and then to say, I'm not going to see him because he puts me in a very depressive, negative mood where I think I'm not God because that's what he believes, and then to think about even going back and seeing him, or seeing him again. I like the 60 quid, but is 60 quid worth putting myself in a position where I have to kind of accept that, oh, I was wrong and nothing was going to happen? These people who I think are going to help me are not going to help me, and clearly they're not going to help me. Why? Because I have to do this to earn 60 quid. And then I was just like, I got some from the other two that I saw, and that'll be enough to pay my council tax, and therefore I don't want to go back to massage. I do not want to go back, and I have to recognize the difference between people who make me feel good and people that make me feel bad. This guy, he's the Family guy, the guy that looks like the Peter Griffin of Family Guy. Yes, the one that I tried to have a kid with, but whatever. But I realize that he makes me feel really negative, makes me feel like everything that I believe just isn't real, can't be real, because that's what he thinks. And the fact that I have to go back to massage or just to earn just a little bit of money to pay my council tax and to make sure I have a holiday this year, to think that I have to go back and see him, I just feel like it's just going to put me in such a negative mood. So I can't see him. Plus I was basically asleep all yesterday, so I was kind of glad not to see him. But yeah, the other two, though, put me in a good mood, and that's a difference. Some people put me in a good mood, and some people put me in a negative mood, and yeah, I'm not going back to massage. There's a couple of people that I did like, and I think also seeing someone that I don't like makes me hate the whole job. When I was thinking of having to see that other one, that I've known for a long time and hanging around with, but also just doesn't believe me. I feel like he makes me feel like I should just give up permanently on this job and just not see anyone, and that puts me in a very negative mood, and it's actually going to make me in a much worse financial situation, whereas the other two, I like that Mario dog. Why can I remember his name? I actually think I remembered the name of his dog before I remembered the name of him, even though he got the dog quite a few years after I met him. Anyway, I remember the name of his dog, which is weird. But yeah, that's just how it is. So what else am I thinking about? I'm thinking about there's a war that's coming on between there is going to be. I think if there is a war, it's going to be. Well, I think it is going to be before I'm exposed. It's going to be between Christians and Muslims, but it's going to be a fake war. That's what I think. I think if the leaders at the top of the Islamic community know the purpose of Islam, and realize that actually it's just a bunch of things that are not true, and anyone who believes it and spreads it and is happy to promote it and defending what's the word, jihad, anyone who defends jihad, I personally, I do defend jihad. Why? Because there's way too many people here and we need to get rid of some, and I want to get rid of the people that are causing most problems. So I support jihad over the people who are causing the most amount of problems. But yeah, the people who are promoting the most or causing the most amount of problems are people who are just believing lies and attacking others and just believing nonsense. And I think by supporting this Muhammad figure and showing your full dedication and wanting to get rid of Israel, even though God is on earth, and she's saying that actually Israel is code for me. I just feel like this is the purpose of Islam, to work out who are the ones who are most a danger to me. I feel like I have a need to want to support Iran because I know that there are some people in there that hate Islam and are only doing what they need to survive. Like, which, if that means covering, then fine, cover. But there's a lot of people that don't want to cover, and they don't want to support Islam, but they feel like they have to, because otherwise they're going to be persecuted. And I don't know how many stories of these are true or not. I would love to believe it's all lies, it's all fake, but I'm seeing quite a lot of other clips that are making it clear that there is actually a war and that people are actually getting blown up. And you don't want the wrong people to get hold of weapons. And if as an Islamic regime has really deadly nuclear weapons, the wrong people might get in and hold and might get access to these weapons, and then they might start using it on the West and stuff. And we don't want cities that are working. I mean, okay, there's a lot of corruption everywhere. I'm not saying the West is perfect. I'm not saying America is amazing. There's mad people all over the world, but madder people are people who support child marriage and just the suppression of women, and women shouldn't have any rights, and believing that all women are stupid, and yet claiming that you still want to marry them. Why would you want to marry a stupid woman? If you think all women are stupid, then surely that just means you're gay. Because if you think all women are stupid and you fancy men, that kind of means that you are that's more acceptable. It's more acceptable. But if you think all women are stupid and yet you still fancy them, it's just like, that's just you saying that you fancy stupid women. Maybe the reason why you fancy stupid women is because you're stupid. So I understand things in a very different way to how they would understand it. But yes, I think there is a fake war, or maybe real. To be honest, I don't like war, so I kind of want to believe that it's fake because that sounds better and it makes me feel better. But I don't know what's going on. I don't think war is my area, so if I do just think it's all fake, that will probably be better for my own mental state. But at the same time, I don't like the Islamic regime, and I don't like a lot of things. I don't believe anything in Islam. There's a lot of things that people say, Islam and Christians are the same, and then they say all the things that Islam and Christians believe, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't believe that. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't believe that either. And therefore, yeah, by promoting that Islam and Christianity is the same, I think you're actually just belittling Christianity even more, and just bringing up all the lies in Christianity and saying, yeah, it's the same. And it's just like, yeah, this is the stuff I don't like. This is both the stuff I don't like. But I don't know. Yes. I don't know what I'm going to do today. I wanted to go. There's a Bella Pasta £5 deal, but it's a long way away, and I have to cycle all the way there, and I'm feeling really tired still. But maybe I won't. I might go tomorrow. I've got a few more days left of that deal, so I might go tomorrow. I have to go all the way to Walsall. But I like that cycle. It's quite a nice canal cycle, so I would want to do it. I don't think I have the energy today, so tomorrow. And what else? Oh yeah, my sister's found out that she can take out another loan, but it's only 230, which is good, because she was thinking the house that she was looking for was 375, and I was very, very concerned, because that means for her to afford that, she would have to take out a £3,250 loan. Marco was saying no, but only because it's a 2-bedroom, and he thinks that Sophie should go for a 3-bedroom, because ideally, with them having a girl and a boy, it would be better in the future for them to move into that place and then perhaps rent out the other two. But yeah, if there's going to be catches where you have to rent out this new property for 35 years, so moving in there is not a possibility. If there's also the I think they've said you can't pay it back unless you sell the house and pay off the whole mortgage at the same time. So that again puts more cap on it, and because they've only said 230 because she's already got a £130,000 mortgage, I think she's not going to be able to afford that place. She's not going to be able to afford a house. She might be able to afford a flat, but I don't think she would. I don't know if she would go for that. I'm hoping that they'll pull out, but I'm interested in what they're saying because I think whatever they've been offered is probably similar to what other people are offered, but she would have to remortgage her one bedroom, and I don't understand why you would. If you're in a situation where you own a house and you have no mortgage on it, and you've got another two-bedroomed house and you do have a mortgage on it, pay off the mortgage. Say you own both of them. As soon as you own both of them, you no longer have any money to pay other than the service charge and the bills. And once you've done that, you won't feel a need to work. You can just work to pay off this couple of thousand a year. As soon as you start getting mortgages, that's when you start getting commitment, and you have to start relying on the tenants to pay. Now, if the mortgage or if the rent is very, very high, the tenants might not be able to afford it. You might have to force them to pay £2,000 a month, and they might lose their job. Anything could happen, and they might find that they can't pay. Now, if they can't pay, then Sophie's not going to be able to pay because her job only just covers the bills that she's paying, and her job only covers a certain amount, and she thinks that she's renting out the two-bedroom flat, but she's not. This is money that my mum's given her, and so providing she can live there, so she can't rent that flat out, so she doesn't actually have that flat to rent because she's already earned the rent for the next 2 years. So I'm trying to give her advice on what to do, but she's not listening to me. She'll just do whatever she wants. But I think she really wanted a house, and because the mortgage that she can get is not enough to buy a house, because that's about 400,000. You need about 400,000 to buy a house. Maybe you can buy a one-bedroom house, but I don't think she would really feel rich. I think she wants to feel rich, and by feeling rich, to do that you'd need to have a large mortgage, a mortgage that she can't pay off. And I think this is why rent is so high. If you're paying rent and the money's just going to a bank to pay off money that doesn't exist, you might feel you wouldn't want to do that. But if there's like a middle person, and you're paying money to some poor person who has to pay off a debt, and if you don't pay the rent, these extremely high rents, this middle person suffers because they can't pay off this debt that they have. By having this sort of middle person, you actually make these people feel guilty, hence make them pay. So you've turned these people, the renters, into slaves by having a middle person that's also a type of slave, a type of poor person that has no money, and they've taken out a massive loan to buy the house. These people then feel obligated because they don't want to make this person's desperate to get the rent, but otherwise they can't pay the mortgage, and then they fall into debt. And then you have this person that pays the high rent, which is probably most of their salary, just so that this person can pass the money onto the bankers. But really, it's the bankers that are making all the money. The bankers have turned the world into slaves, and they've done it through this middle person by saying, okay, you can own the house providing you get this money. And the middle person is stupid, and they don't realize that actually that they don't own the house. It's the banks that own the house, until they've paid off the mortgage, which might take 35 years. They've said she can have a 35-year mortgage, which is a very long time to wait. She's 4 years younger than me, so she's like 34. She's not very young. In 35 years time, she's going to be 70. Do you really want two houses when you're 70, after knowing that you've just spent the last 35 years forcing huge amounts of money? Okay, as time goes on, the mortgage will be less, so there'll be less it will be easier when the mortgage is less, because I think the interest rate will be far less. But yeah, it's a big system that's all just designed to help the bankers, and the governments aren't stopping this corruption from happening because they're probably making money off the bankers. I don't know, but to think that the government can charge huge amounts of tax whilst they're actually just creating a system that helps only the bankers because of these high rents. If you're paying 25% of your salary goes on on tax, and then a huge amount goes on bills, and then everything else that you have goes on rent that just gets given to the banks, who are only allowed to give out this free money because of the government. Technically the government is just getting everything, because are they making profit of this money that doesn't exist, that the banks are loaning out? I don't know how it's working, but I know there's some people who are superly rich, and they've got huge amounts of investments in the banks, and the banks are just taking their money to loan it out. So maybe there is some sort of cycle, but it's only helping the superly rich. And I don't know if I particularly care, because right now I don't know who's on my side and who's not. My sister is not on my side. She does not agree with me. She does not help me. She does not want to support me. If she was to lend me if she was to let me buy an extra 10% of the house so that I can, earn, right now I'm earning 500 on that money, 500 a year on that money, but it goes into the account that I can't touch. So technically, it's not money I can use. But if I had it vested in the house, then I'd make £1,000 a year, which is twice as much, and it would be money I can access, because every month, instead of taking 50%, I could take 60%. Well, every few months when I need the money, I can take 60% rather than 50%, and that extra 1,000 would actually mean that I don't have to go back to work, because I don't need much money. I just need a little bit more, I think, to guarantee a holiday this year. And it's just. She doesn't do things for me. She does things for herself. But yeah, that there's some people that are just like this. They don't think logically. And she said, I told her, if all these houses if the three houses if the house market crashes and you can't pay back the mortgage, and you realize that the house is no longer even worth what the mortgage is worth, say it's worth 300,000, you got 150,000 pounds mortgage in it, and then the house market crashes and the house is no longer worth 150, and that's basically the cost of the mortgage. It might be better just to sell it for 150, get them or pay off the mortgage, so you don't have to pay that money. What happens if you do that and you find yourself left with nothing? Or if they repossess the house, even worse, they repossess them out the house, and you lose the 150 that you put into the house, or the 250 that you put in the house. Would you care? And she just says, no, the government will look after me. I can just do what Lucy does, which is Marco's ex-partner, who basically has just had a couple of kids and then just relies on government money to pay her rent and pay her mortgage. And the government doing this helps, again, keep the housing market expensive, because if a bunch of people are getting free housing, then it means that these free houses are not on the general market, and if they're not on the general market, it means that the general market can stay very, very high. So you just rip people off whilst other people do nothing, earn nothing, and just live off the government. I don't exactly know her situation. I don't know her circumstances, but I'm not happy with this undividing of free housing versus, if you aren't, free housing should only be basic, like real minimal. What that room that I just posted, a tiny little bedroom, that should be what free housing has. And if you have kids, well, sorry, you shouldn't have kids. You shouldn't have kids. You should go and get an abortion if you can't afford to look after them. Only the rich people should have the luxury of having children. And why? Well, the rich people are probably rich because they're smarter. Now, if the smarter people are having children, then the Matrix is going to find all the smarter souls and bring them back to life in the smarter bodies with the smarter parents. And these kids are going to grow up being even smarter. Why? Because they've got a good upbringing, and they're being brought up by, I was saying how if you get a bunch of cats and you teach one to be very, very smart, you might find that the kitten too is a lot smarter than all the others. Is that genes? Have you taught stuff to the cat, and through genes the cat has birthed an intelligent kitten because of genes? No, I think it's generally the spiritual. The Matrix has realized that cat is a lot smarter, so has given that cat a soul that's a lot smarter. And that is how it is with humans. There's lots of dumb humans and smart humans, and if only the smart humans were the ones that had kids, then the whole population would start getting smarter and smarter, because the Matrix would be focusing on all the smartest souls, putting them in the smartest bodies. But yeah, if there's so many, maybe some smart kids do end up going to dumb parents, and then because they're being raised up by dumb parents, they can't reach their full potential. I have really bad dyslexia, but maybe if I would have had intelligent parents that gave me better education, maybe my ability to ascend would have been a lot easier, and I wouldn't be stuck with all these bad memory problems where I'm very dyslexic.